Hello everybody, welcome back once again to various Oddities Showcase. It's been a fair while since we had one of these out, and the reason is that a lot of code has been going on behind the scenes in a fashion that doesn't really lend itself well to being shown off in a video. That said, this project is very far from dead, and to that end, I do have a few things to show off today. So, what I'm going to be mostly talking about is a series of things that all kind of like coalesce together at the end, and you'll see exactly how in that point. So, the first thing is that we are now able to mark positions as well as mobs for companions, which are essentially receptive mobs around you. So, that can be a pet or a specific kind of like bauble special magical effect thing, that sort of thing, but you are able to actually identify exactly what you want to mark and where, such that they can be informed of these things. It's very similar to the ping mod, which itself is an implementation of the Portal 2 co-op pings. It replaces, in the case of the Mage Hand, the use of sneaking to indicate items you want to pick up and blocks that you want to actually activate. And to that end, I have a Hen of the Mage on my person here. I also have a Ring of Shielding, which is also seeing a bit of a rework. So, we have a config for both what key you want to actually use that for. That is part of the key bindings now under Controls. There you are. X by default, and you can also change how quickly between them you have. You can actually press that button to change where you're indicating an entity or a position, and then that also controls how quickly after that it will actually alert and notify. So they only actually get notified as soon as you actually get the information translated. So if we mark that, for instance, it says mark that. If we do that, then it doesn't mark it, doesn't tell anybody. The next thing, which is very much more noticeable in this hen than anything else, is we are now able to configure certain mobs. This allows you to alter their inventory, it allows you to alter their loadout, what gear they have in their main hand, their offhand, armor slots, if they have any of them. Interior inventory is also supported via a button that appears over here, should you actually be interacting with a mob that has that. And the major thing of this is also these controls. As you can see here, we have various buttons, and that allows us to change various settings on our hen. So, if we say activate mark blocks on, we can now inform our hen that it should go and flip that lever. And how about you just turn that off for me as well? Yeah, very good. And similarly, we can also have our hen only pick up marked items or just pick up any items in our vicinity. We can tell it whether or not it should give the held item it has to us, that sort of thing. If you want to use it for display, for instance, you could just have that floating inside of a chicken nearby. The chicken, of course, being a spectral creature, is only rendered by its owner, so to everybody else it's just floating redstone. But if we chuck that around, yeah, you've grabbed it right out the air for me. Thank you. Let's just tell you to pick up marked items only, shall we? So, the standard behavior of the hen is that it will, well, the mage hen to be exact, the standard behavior is that they'll always try and grab up to a stack before they even consider returning to you, so you can use the least number of possible clicks when you're trying to pick up a whole ton of stuff. But basically, this allows us to actually alter the AI of actual mobs via this handy-dandy UI. The UI also displays available armor as well as health on this side over here. The mage hand is functionally indestructible, so it doesn't actually have that, but that code is all there. This is a generic UI that will take basically any configurable mob, and has taken more than a little bit of trouble to get working, but nonetheless. You'll also see here, we have this little section down there. This does actually support scrolling when there are sufficient numbers of options, so we only have 3 here, but we can have basically an endless number if you wanted to really fine-tune exactly how your pet works. And speaking of pets, we currently have 2 of them. So on my left, we have the mage hand in the form of the mage hen, in this case, a very particular special variant of the hand of the mage. And on the right, we have the Force Shield, which is originating from my Ring of Shielding. These are both entities, they're not mobs, strictly speaking, but they behave very much like them. And Formerly, pets were their own main class, and that meant that we could make a whole bunch of different pets, but they were always rooted into that specific class. It meant that we couldn't create a variant of an existing entity that was also somehow a pet and the like, and that gave us a bunch of limitations. Now, they are a fully implemented, interface-based, and handler-managed system. What that means is that we can tag basically any brand new entity we like with the interface that says this is a pet, and it will then be detected by a handler on the server side that actually updates all of the pet-relevant stuff. This includes a concept I have very disturbingly referred to as abandonment, which is the definition of when a pet can't find a valid owner for whatever reason. So that then determines when and if a given pet will despawn. So that, for instance, with the case of a missing owner, a pet, if perhaps if you are logging in, your pet can't detect you yet because you haven't personally joined the world, but the pet is nonetheless loaded, that would previously have caused your pet to despawn pretty much immediately, and in the case of the mage hand, that would A, drop the item it was holding, as well as essentially reset all of its controls. So for the purposes of making sure this stays a bit more persistent, there is now a delay between that, so that's between the first time it detects that it can't see you, and when it actually decides to despawn, there is about a 5 to 10 to 15 seconds kind of like delay for that. That delay is also changeable between different mobs, so the hen might have a different one to the force shield, for instance. There is also the invalid owner, which is to say all pets have some kind of distinction of who qualifies as being a proper owner. In the case of both of our two pets here, if we take off either of these rings, we no longer qualify as a valid owner, and in that case, they will instantly despawn, as we see over there. But if I put it back, they respawn. And that basically gives us very significant controls over how these creatures function and whatnot. But as I say, these things will despawn. Other things will not despawn, necessarily. So in the case of, for instance, a variant of the wolf pet, we could actually just have them sit down when they can't detect you. If they detect you're an invalid owner, they might go wild, for instance, as well. We have all of that available to us, and the really big thing, I know this isn't a whole ton of visual stuff. As I say, a lot of stuff hasn't really lent itself to being showed on camera terribly much, but if we combine this system of being able to control the inventory of a mob as well as what it responds to, how it responds to, that kind of thing, with being able to tell it to do various things, we can combine that with the pets, so the missing as well as invalid and all that sorts of stuff, other things, to create what are being described as companions. The companions are fully realized non-player companions, meaning you will be able to create a party, if you will, between yourself and one or more mobs, creatures in the world, allowing you to go on full-blown adventures entirely by yourself, and moreover allowing you to do tasks in the home and whatnot, just by pointing them out to your companions. This will get a little bit more complicated. There are other reworks that we are working on in the background, and by we, I of course mean me pretty much exclusively. But this is going to get very interesting indeed. Now, keep an eye out on twitch.tv/lyinginbedmon, because pretty much every Tuesday we are continuing to work on various oddities. We are continuing to progress towards the next release version. There is a beta of that coming very soon, and once we get the next release version out, we're going to be starting work on a significantly more recent version of Minecraft, so we'll be pausing development of various oddities for 1.12, and hopefully that will not take an utter eon, but fortunately the way I've set up most of various oddities as is, a lot of stuff just needs the basic foundation laid out and it'll just slot right in. But for right now, that is all that I have for you, so I hope you've all enjoyed. As I say, not dead, very busy, just in the dark. I'll catch you all as ever next time. Come now, dear viewer, tell me your wish. Is it for money? Maybe for power? Or perhaps you hope for simpler things like bonus content and exclusive streams with your favorite content creator? Really? That last one, huh? Well, that's easy, just head over to patreon.com/lying. Well, I kind of expected more.